was doing the countdown, and we're actually just live. So I don't even know why I do the countdowns with those. And it's so funny. Guys, the Evolve Performer Academy, everybody here in our Evolve Performance space. I'm just jumping right into it. You guys have actually been asking about it. I am get and Bob, I'm gonna do a little intro for you. But
All right.
I do before I won't do that, I just want to have my little fanboy moment because I watched the movie The Secret every day at night, right before I would go to bed. I'd watch it every day as I went to bed for a year. Maybe it might have even been more than that. And the girls I dated that year, they're like, "Why are we watching this?" I was like, "How do you think you ended up here? This is all about manifestation and living the dream life." Back in the day. So if you guys haven't seen the movie The Secret, you've been living under a rock, but I'm so honored to bring on one of my favorite characters from that movie that we watched.
Characters.
one of the cast, one of the four, like you were one of the OGs from that cast of that movie. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Doyle from The
Thank
Secret.
you very. Yeah, I just realized I'm wearing almost like the same shirt. That
Oh,
that
I
was
know. I
completely
was gonna
unintentional.
say it's the same thing.
That
So
black, yeah,
oh my gosh, Bob! I know we've finally met in person. You've been kind of one of the icons for me from that movie, and we've worked with Marie Diamond and gosh, Jack Canfield and a lot of the Michael Beckwith have all been kind of in my ecosystem and your ecosystem, obviously, for a long time. But thank you for just giving us some time today. And what we were going to talk about was what you have been doing with evolving the work around the brain today. And I think as most of the audience here for us, as you know, they're evolved performers, meaning that they're speakers, they're coaches, they're DJs, they're guitars, there's musicians, and they are all so dialed into up leveling how their mind works and their body and staying in flow and more importantly manifesting the stages of their dreams. And so this is kind of a dream come true for me because I remember watching that, and there was certain voices, and I think you clearly have the radio, that deep resonant tone for radio that you obviously do voiceover work, because that would be the time. Because sometimes you watch a movie when you go to sleep and you kind of zone out, you just listen to it. But when your voice came on, I'd always be like, "Oh, that's Bob. What's he talking about again?" And so we'd listen to it. Is that where you started? All was it voice? Was it voice work?
totally. I knew from my dad was in broadcasting. He was a voiceover guy. He was an on-TV weatherman. I never aspired to do the weather thing or even on camera, but the voice and the audio production I knew from a kid. So that's what I aimed my whole life for. I went to college probably unnecessarily to get training that was 10 years outdated, right? And then just got a job at the local radio station and started my career there. And just was a goofball doing voices and characters and just being silly. I always thought that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And then when I graduated from college and I came to Atlanta, when I got into Atlanta radio, it was just a different deal. I didn't have the creative freedom, right? I mean, there's a major freaking market. But in Athens, Georgia, it was 5 a.m. and I could do whatever I wanted because, no one was listening. They didn't care. So, but I got to play and I produced a lot of content and sort of found my silly little voice. But I couldn't do any of that in Atlanta. And then I got kind of frustrated. I was 20, 2 or whatever, and 23, and just like, I want to get on with things. So I quit that thinking, all right, well, I'm going to find my way around. But yeah, broadcasting was my roots. And now, with the technology that we've got, I get to go back to it and integrate all of that, even the silliness, into the work I'm doing now.
That's amazing. I think with audio that I've learned, because we have an evolved podcasting company, I did not realize the power of just deep and engrossing audio. And now whenever I look at like the landscapes for audio and everything, like for movies like Avatar, if you haven't seen, did you see the new Avatar? It's so good.
I haven't been there yet. No, haven't
Oh
seen
my
it.
god. Anyway, don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Let's get right into the juice of it right now. Bob, you are
Sure.
doing something so incredible with brain function and improving our cognitive ability to not just manifest, not just to up level what we're doing, but you've taken what is seemingly one of my favorite topics, but a million people around the world daily are always searching for how to have better brain health, I was working with a doctor named Tom O'Brien. And he said Alzheimer's is on the most insane rise in the history of the world from 30 to 44 years of age right now. And it's up 400%. 400% Alzheimer's is raising, and it's because of the food. It's because of what we're eating and all this. What are you doing right now to help people with their brain work? And we're going to allude into how they can actually kind of even get personal work with you, but more importantly, like, how did you stumble onto this? Because this is a huge epidemic, and I just wanted to just bring that to light. You are doing some amazing work around the brain. Can you give us just like a window into what you're doing?
So after 20 years of teaching law of attraction, obviously the secret is all about manifesting, and there's an energy conversation and visualization, and there's a lot of magical thinking that got wrapped up in it. Even though I always tried to approach it from the science place, that was kind of my voice in the movie, was just like, this doesn't have to be a woo-woo conversation, but obviously it got in that conversation, and I think that made it inaccessible to a lot of people who could benefit from the principles. The basic thing that I really realized after 20 years is that people are trying to create their own reality. So where is reality really created? And I realized, of course, that it's in the moment that your brain makes meaning of that moment. This experience that we're having, whatever your experience of reality is right now, it's because your brain is connecting a lot of dots and giving this moment meaning. And all of that meaning is based on all of your past and the wiring that you uniquely have. Your unique lens through which you see the world, which is different than mine, which is different than anybody else's. So we all have our little versions of the truth. And that's a huge aha moment. Because when you realize that you can, in fact, and it's not a woo-woo thing, it's a biological thing, you can create a different experience of reality by starting in here, deciding who do you need to be to have this new experience that you want, and then literally just start behaving as that person. It seems so simple, and it sounds like fake it till you make it, but it's not. But this is it. All I'm doing with people is facilitating the process of the wiring that they already have, but intentionally and much more efficiently, instead of having it drawn out over the course of your life on autopilot. Becoming aware of how that you are wired and that you can change it is how what I'm helping people to do now, and that can change their entire experience of life.
And the rewiring, is it, gosh, when you say, and you told me earlier, we were talking about this, you make it so simple. And what is it that has made it so complicated for people in the past? Like, I know that I had a rewiring problem around abundance. I had a rewiring problem around trauma, and bringing in like the most fruitful parts of like what really works for me now. Why do we have such a problem rewiring our brain?
Well, because I think honestly, when it comes right down to it, people in general aren't really convinced that they can do it, that they're really going to get the thing. And because it takes an incredible commitment to rewire your brain, because we're talking about consistently overriding maybe decades of autopilot responses, it
Mm,
can get challenging. It brings up all your stuff. And it's a beautiful thing. But people, if they don't know that, if they aren't ready for it, if they don't understand that this is just part of the biology, they start freaking out and saying, and if they're really into the law of attraction conversation, they might say something like, oh, this is supposed to flow. This isn't easy. The universe doesn't want this for me. And then they back off, not realizing if everybody would just realize that if you look at all the successful people who have done amazing things, they all have a journey with some suck moments
total suck moments. Well, the
where they
best
doubt
ones do.
themselves and all that. So this is just a process that everybody goes through, that we are accelerating by just, again, it's about realizing, if we just because most people are asleep, completely asleep. They think they're awake, they think they're making conscious decisions, but those conscious decisions are based only on their wiring. So their logic, their knowledge, their opinions,
Mm,
their everything. And so they think they're making a conscious choice, but all of that groundwork was
does not.
basically laid by somebody else.
Right. And then how do you, when you work with folks like that, you go in there and you basically have to uproot those folks and then replant them? Or is it more of just like is it more of I mean, it's kind of a spiritual journey, it's an emotional journey, it's like a physical thing. It's like three things that I've noticed for myself. Have you found the same for what you do when you work
It's a
with your
whole,
folks?
yes, because look, this wiring takes place in your mind, obviously your brain, but your body is also wired. And then of course there's this connection at the spiritual to whatever All of it. So, and we have to, if we're going to rewire, if we're going to literally, what we're talking about is changing our biology, changing our biology. If we're going to do that, then there's a lot that needs to be in alignment on an ongoing basis. And so, as we mentally say, okay, I'm catching this autopilot behavior and I've rehearsed, which is part of our process, rehearsed a new way to be in this situation. You can have that mental thing, mental awareness, but your body will still probably go into autopilot response mode when it's triggered, which means the chemicals will release, which means you will have those emotions. So you got to be like super conscious because you're going, okay, now I'm feeling angry. Now I'm feeling, less than. Now I'm feeling disempowered. But if we work together properly, you can immediately go, but that's not the truth. That's just my wiring. This is
Ooh.
just a response to these things that has happened. And now I'm committed to changing because I don't want to feel disempowered when this happens. How would I like to feel? So I coach people. I'm like, yes, how would you like to feel? What's the ideal version of you feel in this situation? And then rehearse it visually, visualization. It got this woo-woo kind of connotation, like visualize, because in the law of attraction conversation, there's this idea, okay, you're going to visualize and feel it. Now you're going to get into and you're going to put out a vibe and the universe is going to match it. Okay, yeah, that's happening. But what's most important is visualization is creating wiring in your brain. Your brain's in a box. It doesn't know what's out here for real, except for what you're telling it through your consciousness and through the meaning you give things. So if you tell your brain, if you're sitting in your chair, but you're telling your brain that you're at that meeting kicking ass and saying all the right things instead of cowering in the corner and whatever your old way was, if you do that over and over, your brain's going, oh, I'm doing it. 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 I am this. After a while, the wiring is for real. And then you just be it automatically. That's how it being works. But I'm talking about over and over and over, because if you're not consciously feeding your brain with something, it's being fed. I promise. It's not just in silence. Your subconscious is going back and saying that whatever the lifetime of stories you've got about why you can't go forward or whatever it is. So if you're not on top of that on an ongoing basis and be real about it, like you like expect all that stuff to come up
Right.
and be fascinated with it rather than frustrated.
Right. I think there's it might have been you. It's been a hot minute since I watched that movie, I gotta be honest. But there's that
Me
part where
too.
we talk about well, there's that part where we talk about the unconscious mind, the reticular activating system, as Tony likes to
Mhm.
call it. And I think what's interesting, and you touched upon this really quickly, is like it's the emotions that you bring to that, and there's the awareness, and then there's a expectation that you do because you start rewiring. And what people forget about The Secret, and where it really got lambasted a lot, is because people were sitting back and they're like, I'm just going to consciously bring this into my life, and there wasn't this action piece. And what you've really done is you've taken the brain work and you're doing this, but you're also showing people once it gets wired in, the action starts to happen. And I think of it,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Automatically.
Mm-hmm.
Without all the effort, because you are now this person who effortlessly takes the action. Because right now, everything you're doing effortlessly in autopilot, that got wired into you over time, right? It's effortless
Yeah.
and automatic because you wired it in over time. So now we're going to wire in new things over time. And so then that will become effortless and automatic. But as you're learning it, it's going to feel completely unnatural and weird and maybe even freaking difficult. But if you know why you're going there, if you've got a non negotiable vision, then you just do it because that's how everything's done. It's not like the iPhone was invented after 5 tries. It's like, no, we're inventing this thing and we're going to fail a million freaking times a month. And we're going to learn from it and adjust. And that's how we need to do our lives. And all of us have a different threshold where we go, I'm done, I can't learn anymore or whatever. That we reach the limits of our wiring, and then that's where someone like me steps in and go, oh no, you're just getting started. You're
Totally.
just getting, if you want. But to get them past that hurdle is part of the work, right?
Yeah. Who was the mentor or your Bob Doyle that came in and stepped in and like kind of helped you unblock that belief for yourself?
Yeah, it wasn't a person, and it really wasn't. It was odd. I went back and reread The Science of Getting Rich,
Oh,
1910,
by Nick
right?
Waddles? Is that who it is? Or
Wallace Waddles,
Wallace.
right? And I had read it when I first started my journey. And I'm like, okay, I would think of it.
Hmm.
But something made me read it again about, I don't know, now I always say it's 3 years ago, but now I think it's more, but let's say it's 5 years ago. Um, but I reread it and I was like, and after 20 years of teaching law of attraction, how I got it in a whole different way. And I'm like, wow, if people would just read this for what it is and not try to make it mean something out there, then this will change lives. Now, he never talked about neuroplasticity or brain rewiring, but he did talk about the importance of being
Mm.
the person who is going to have those riches or whatever. Even if you're in a job you don't like right now, you be the person who has the new position that you want while even in that job, and you will grow out of it.
And
So
yeah,
the importance of being. So that's what made me connect the dots about, so where does being happen? It's all in the brain. So I
yeah.
just had a series of connections, and I looked at my own life, and I was like, okay, what is, like, I had some, because I was living, technically I'm still a post-divorce world, but I had a really hard time post-divorce for a really long time, where I was triggered very negatively by any little email or anything. A
Oh,
lot of people have that story.
totally.
And it's like, it would take me out for a week sometimes, like just ruminating. I'm going, okay, well, this behavior is stupid. It's automatic, and it gets me nowhere. All the worrying, all the stuff, nothing gets done. So how would I rather be, right? What would it be like to just read the email and not have an emotion? Like at first it was, I can't even imagine. But you just start working on it, because it's that I like logic. My brain likes logic. And so if I really just put it to my brain, like, that worrying has never solved a thing. Let's try something else. Let's just
Mm.
try it. If this doesn't work, if you don't feel better, you can go back to worrying. So I just make a deal with myself. And I mean, it was such a freaking huge game changer for me. I mean, quality of life through the roof, when that was like not that toxin, because I would literally inject myself with poison for a week,
Oh
just with a
yeah.
thought, and
Just one.
reinforce all the old wiring.
And I think that's a good thing for our audience to remember, because I think, and you know this, a lot of times we feel that the folks at the top don't have these emotions, they don't have this stuff come up. And obviously, I mean, you guys are listening. This is Bob Doyle, who was in The Secret. We're all triggered and we're all emotional creatures. And one of the things, thanks for being so raw with us and letting us know, like, that stuff hits. And I think you said a couple things that for me really landed about, how do I want to feel? Like, how do you want to feel?
Yes.
The clarity around that is so profound and it's so simple. And I think that's one of the things I really wanted to kind of touch base with you on, is that you've made this brain work really simple. You're like, hey, this does not have to be rocket science to do this. It can be very simple.
Yeah.
And I know that with how we can cast a vision, like before it was mind mapping, or not mind, well, mind mapping, but it was vision boards, right? It was putting notes up, it was doing those things. And that did spur on first the emotion to see yourself in a different place, and that emotion would lock into a vibration or a frequency, and then that frequency ultimately is what pulls you into an action, and the action is what takes you into the next physical part of bringing the vision and the reality together. Am I right there? Is that?
Yes, hopefully. Yes, that's it. Because people are thinking the action part, they're like the magical part, it's all energy. Just because it doesn't happen invisibly and magically, us moving is energy in action. Us getting an opportunity is an energetic event. So if you want to feel the
Mm,
magic in all of it, even though it feels earthly, and it is, this is all energy. But yes, movement and action. And really, the idea is to experience your life anyway, which means moving through it. The journey that you're going to take towards this goal, that's the juice. The journey is the juice. You can't just wake up and be there, because what do you got to show for it? How do you
right.
maintain that if you haven't had the experiences to be able to to be able to maintain that situation? And especially if you're a person out to help people, you got to take the freaking journey so that they know you know what you're talking about. If you don't,
Yeah.
then you're just one of those people.
One of those people that populated their success with Chat GPT. I just did it. Yeah. Oh man, the journey is the juice. Is that the new book? I think that should be one of your books. One of
I
them.
got two book titles now. Yeah. But I do find myself saying that a lot. But it really is true, because that's where all the learning happens. That's where all the experiences, where you meet all the people, where you make all the connections and have all the ahas, get inspired to the next step. That's all the journey. And look, seriously, by the time we all know who have done this and taken the journey. Once you get there, wherever that is, either it's evolved into something else, which is natural to do, or you're like already on to the next thing. It should just be pulling you through a constant journey and
Mm,
experience of life, right? Like, because what is there? Right? If we are expansive beings. We are part of this infinitely growing, expanding universe. And if we don't expand, we feel it. We get depressed, we get angry, we get resentful, we do things that we shouldn't be doing because we're here to express what this natural passion, creativity is in us. And if we push that back or let somebody else's story and get us wired, our bot, everything about us knows that's not right. And we have a reduced quality of life if we
got it.
can't just be that. And we've got all we need in here. This brain is ready to be wired to learn anything. Yeah, it may take you 5 years to learn.
Hmm.
If you want to be a rocket scientist all of a sudden, if you really want that, if that's who you are, well, part of that journey is going to school. But God, go for it. Do it. Learn the rocket science because in 10 years, however long it takes to be a rocket scientist, you'll be in there rocket sciencing. But if you just sit here and talk about it and wait for it to manifest and have rockets on your vision board, but you never take a class, how's that going to happen?
Totally. I love that you said that too. And hi Adam, hi everybody. There's a bunch of people popping in here. Um I know there's some secret fans out there, Bob. They're still there, which is crazy. I
It is
think
crazy.
it's nuts. Well, it was such a phenomenon. It still is, you know. I mean, it was kind of the antithesis of helping people understanding what attraction is and what attraction in your life means and what consistent focus is. I mean, let's be honest. It was how to focus consistently on your dreams in a new way, like getting things in front of you, speaking to it, and then also visualizing it. But you guys took it such a step farther with like you and Joe and everybody. You have found the science with the mysticism and you've merged the two. It's so amazing to see, and I'm so glad it's coming to light right now, which kind of brings me kind of full circle to like what you guys are doing. How did you how do you make it such a more not practical, but how do you help people understand? And this is what's great because you have a not even a course, it's an event. It's a deep dive event that I'm excited to go and join you guys and join with you guys to do it. But how do you guys make it so it's like a practical tip? How do you make it easier? And like what our motto around here with a 3.5 month old is ease and grace. How do we do things
Yeah.
with ease
Grace,
and
flow, and
grace?
ease. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you
Yeah.
do that where you up leveled the brain, but like learn to like expand your capacity for manifestation with ease and grace?
Yeah. Well, again, it all starts with a non negotiable vision, like something that you will go through the journey. Like you
Mm,
got, and that's the first thing I do is help people get that. Because look, you could work with people who don't have that, but my work right now is about helping those people who are really freaking stuck, who have that non-negotiable or are this close to having it, get it, because that's the valuable part. It doesn't matter how successful you are, how much money you have, you're going to reach a level and you probably want something more. But to get them excited about it so that it becomes non-negotiable, then all the quote unquote work just becomes something like they can get excited about doing, and it becomes a discovery process. So you make it fun, you make it creative.
mm,
And like I said about, you get fascinated with your wiring because a lot of people, especially in the law of attraction conversation, every time they think they tapped on something or released something and then it comes up again and they beat themselves up. I thought I had this. Oh no, I had a negative thought. That's all gone. And that's like so the opposite of what you should be doing. When that stuff happens, you celebrate. Good, I found another one. Now I've got tools because we give you lots of tools, to release those things once you identify them. But if you just give into them and go, there it is again, then what do? Now you've created all that emotion, you've triggered those chemicals, and you're just firing off those same neural pathways. You're strengthening the old story. You're making it harder and harder on yourself to actually change. When you go, oh, see, that's an old thing. And so my job is to cut that every single time people start beating themselves up and just go. It's fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating how that comes up every time. And you thought
mm.
you had it beat, and just that look on her face, isn't that fascinating? Instead of like, oh boy, her, it,
Well,
right? It's just
yeah,
because it is fascinating.
that's a great reframe for sure. Isn't that
Yeah,
fascinating?
it is fascinating
That's
though.
so
If you look
good.
at it, like this isn't even true, and it's run my whole life. That's freaking fascinating. So I'm going to use that and put something else in there to run my life on, which is equally as untrue universally, but it's more empowering and it'll move me into action. It's going to get me results because I've decided it's my truth. I'm going to act as if it's my truth. People will respond as if it's my truth, and I will have the life I want. It's all freaking logical.
Oh, it's so it's so profound and simple. It's so profoundly simple. That's
The
amazing.
only reason it's just people just don't do it because we've been trained into this personal development mentality that it'll take you 60 days, 30 days, 90 days, whatever. We don't know. You got decades of wiring. The stories could be deep and very traumatic. It could take some time to rewire, but you just got to start. And
Mm,
if you're having a hard time, you get support because how important is it? Well, I can't afford support. Okay, well then what are you saying? What are you saying?
what
You're
are
not
you
going
saying?
your vision's there, it's in you, it's in you. You've probably had a version of it for since you were a kid. It's pulling at you and you're telling yourself all the reasons you can't do it. And I'm telling you, all you got to do is take some action. And look, the money you are going to lose by not following your dream over the course of time is immense. If that's why, if I've got people like come into this experience that you were alluding to, it's like I say, if you don't have a goal that's worth 10 times the investment, this isn't the event, right? I've
Right.
got an online course you can take. I got something else, right? But this is like, you're serious, you're ready, you're not messing around. You're going to take the coaching, you're going to do the stuff because it's non-negotiable. And this
Right.
will work.
Right. Oh man. Are there so with the event too, I guess that's a great little segue for that. One of the things that a lot of the folks that I actually want to bring with me too is it a have you noticed like a way to collapse time for and the question I'm asking is the event is one way to really bend time and to get with people, right? Get around the
Yeah.
campfire with the people that really get it.
Yes. Yes.
Before that happens, right? There's some stuff that you've done. Like I know that before you were even in the secret, you were asked to be in the secret, and then you kind of you had an imposter moment, right, where you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? This is crazy, especially
Yeah.
after she started talking to some of the huge people, and you were still, obviously you were still in it.
Yeah.
How is it that we can kind of shift our mindset, shift our belief, so that we can cast that bigger vision, right? Some people are so stuck in like this, well, it's not for me, it's not for that. But
A lot.
most of the
Yes.
people here are not that, but how do they cast the bigger vision, Bob?
So again, one is they got to inspire themselves. Like
Hmm.
it's got to be exciting and fun to think about. But if they're having trouble, then there's plenty of sources of inspiration out there, YouTube, etc. I mean, you
Right.
can find stories of people who have started at way worse situations than you, way less, hope, capability, resources, and done extraordinary things. So if you just want to believe it's possible, there's plenty of stories out there that says that people can overcome just about anything. And if you're a human being, by the way, and if you have a human brain, then all of the stuff we're talking about applies to you. Like
100%.
you can't exempt yourself from brain rewiring working because I promise you, your brain is going to wire itself based on whatever you're consistently putting in there or letting in there from the outside. If you're not minding it, if you're not guarding it, if you're not doing any of it, it's just whatever comes in. That's why people have a million opinions about everything, have no sense of, it's just crazy because there's too much input, right? But if we get to decide what goes in there and we can be super focused, like this is who I'm going to be, this is the accomplishment, this is what my values are, and all of those things. Clarity, like you said before, is the most freeing thing. When you don't know what you want and you're only focused on, I just want this to change, it's chaos. You'll never get
Hmm.
out of this if this is what you're focused on because you're acting from that brain. So you have to become the new person in the future, know why you're going there, what that's at least a little bit about what that's going to feel like. And every decision you make today, you make from that future brain. You talk like that person, you make meaning like that person, you write like that person, you walk and talk and stand and dress like that person. And it's not faking it. You are that person. Why? Because you freaking decided. And now just your brain and everybody else in the world has to catch up. You can screw it up by going, oh, this is too hard, I'm going to go back. And then everybody goes, oh, okay, I thought so. You're just, okay. I thought for you here for me, I thought you were going to change and intimidate me and bring up my own stuff. But thank God you're playing small like I'm used to you doing, but no, the people who get this and click, they just go, whatever anybody else says, that's them. I'm focused. Yeah, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to stumble, and they're going to say, "See, I told you so." And I'm not done yet. I just learned a shit ton right now, right? And I'm going to do something with this. Whereas you would have quit.
Right.
But you got to become that person. And if you're not that person, you just visualize and visualize and just pretend like, well, what if I was? What if I was? And just let your imagination fill in the blanks. Because I'm telling you, your brain will answer the questions you ask. This is why when people ask, why is this shit happening to me constantly? You're going to keep getting it because your brain says, here's why. Instead of saying, why does everything flow effortlessly? Why is there grace, flow, and ease in every aspect of my life? Even though if it's not, your brain's going to say, well, let me get that answer for you, because that's what it wants to do. It just wants to answer the questions. It's
Oh,
it's seeking the answers. So ask it good questions and let it look for the good answers. Because if you keep asking the crappy questions, you're going to keep getting the crappy answers, and then justify your actions. Well, I thought about it, and this was the answer I got.
let me ask you a question, Bob. What is your favorite question that you ask yourself to get you into a new state or to? Because let's be honest, you are fucking genius. Like the stuff that you've been coming up with this AI, the things that you've been creating, like this new course, the fact that you manifested Tracy. Come on, that's genius level stuff, right?
Yeah,
So.
man. I wasn't even trying.
What's the questions? Give us a couple examples of some of your favorite questions? Because
Well,
it's the
that's like
presupposition, but I'd love to know.
a question. Well, I think I'm always asking an internal question: is, am I enjoying this?
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying that you have to enjoy 100% of your day, but I think we all do a lot of things that, you know, we don't enjoy because we feel like we have to. There's no one else is going to do it. Anyway, it's stories. There's options a lot of those times, and certainly if you're an entrepreneur, we tend to take on a bunch of stuff. Well, I got to just do it myself, and I know this is a very nichey thing, but since I am an entrepreneur and I do a lot of things, these are prevalent thoughts in my life. Because if you're, especially when you work at home, so it's a blur between what you're up to professionally, what you're up to personally, especially if it's passions and stuff. So asking, "Am I enjoying this?" is important, because I've been down the road where, like post Secret, it got pretty unenjoyable for a while because the conversation changed from a lot of enthusiasm that people had about the law of attraction to now everybody knew about it, and a lot of people didn't like the conversation and wanted to argue about it all the time.
Oh,
So it
so
was like we
weird.
didn't. So now my career became about dispelling myths, teaching release techniques that we didn't get to cover in the movie and stuff like that, and
Oh,
and just
weird.
and also this identity crisis of who am I in this conversation? Because as you said before this, I was in this industry like 3 years before The Secret, and then all these other people decades, right? They're known forever, and I was a broadcaster who sidestepped into this because I had a passion for the law of attraction, and this program grew, and Rhonda Byrne found it, and there I was. So after
Wow.
The Secret, I thought, well, who am I supposed to be right now? Because now millions of people who didn't know me now do, and they probably
Now
have this
do.
expectation that I'm like Jack or Bob or all these other people. So it took until live streaming came out, when the broadcaster in me could come out, before I started really having fun in the conversation again. Because other than that, it was just a bunch of videos where I'm real stiff and like, "Hi, I'm Bob Doyle, one of the featured teachers in the film and book The Secret." I mean, you can go back and look at him from like 2008, 9, 10. It's just like this guy with his hair slicked back, like
Oh
hardly ever
man.
smiles, taking everything real seriously. It's just like, that wasn't me. That wasn't
Yeah.
me. I was just like a mouthpiece for the message, because that's what I felt like was wanted, which wasn't true, but that was my story, right?
Well, yeah, and you were even telling me too. You're like, man, there was a time where I just didn't even want to own the fact that I was in that movie. Like, I didn't even want to be in there because it was such a big pain in the ass to dispel everybody's, you
It wasn't
can't
so
just
much that
manifest.
look, I'm super grateful for it, because the good far outweighs any of the stuff. So it's not like I ever not wanted to be in it, but it was like it did. It's like this. The conversations I ended up having were not the conversations I wanted to have, and so at some point I just took back and said, you know what, I'm going to have the conversations I want to have. I started doing group coaching. I just changed my business
Just
model,
changed it. Yeah.
so that now I
Rewired.
could be. I rewired myself, and that was the other thing, is that post Secret was also when sort of my marriage was kind of getting weird, and so I had a big lack of vision problem, and vision is my business. I got so stuck in the day to day of the business and the growth and everything that was happening and coming at me as a result of The Secret, plus my life. It was like I just wasn't doing any visioning for the future anymore. I just wanted to get through the day, like what most people do. So
Mm.
that, and then I finally realized I got no vision. This is why I'm just spinning. I'm not going anywhere because I'm not telling myself where I want to go, right? I'm doing the
Yeah.
classic, I don't like this. Let me try to fix this and putting it all on the problem. So anyway, it's just back to basics. And,
That's
you
so
know,
good. I love it. And so the kind of the amplifier, the event for you guys, you have one actually in April, and then you have another one in July, right? So that's
we're
what's
having them
great.
every quarter. Yeah.
Every
Having them
quarter,
every
right?
quarter. Hmm.
So good, Bob. Thank you so much for taking some time. What is they're gonna go to they'll go to Henderson, right? They'll be with you guys personally. Is that how that
Right.
works? Or
And if Henderson doesn't sound exciting enough, it's Vegas, baby. It's right over there. You can see it if you stay on the top of my house. You can see
well,
Vegas.
I've been to a few events in Vegas, and I've been to events in Henderson. It is way better in Henderson. Let's be honest; it's much more calm. You can dive in.
Well,
Um,
it's in our home. It's in our home. So it's
yes,
really calm. And we create I mean, it's only 5 people. So it's very intimate and it's really,
yeah, totally.
um, because everybody's got to get their attention. It's 2.5 days and I want everybody, but that's just the perfect size, perfect place. It's a nice little, you know,
Oh,
nice little environment suitable for rewiring.
rewiring. And I think for a lot of our audience, what's up, Skip Kelly? Good to see you, my man. Uh, a lot of the people that work inside of our space here, Bob, been they've gotten to the first level of success as an entertainer and or a speaker coach wherever they're at.
Yep.
Then they some of them have felt great success, and then they hit the brakes and things have coasted. And where a lot of the folks are now, and why I wanted to introduce you and the event that you're doing to this audience, is because of the power of understanding the rewire and understanding the next evolution and pushing. That's why we have a whole course. It's called Evolving. It's the evolved performer, the evolving is the next iteration of rewiring for us. And so I just wanted to make sure that you guys were introduced to Bob. I was so happy and excited once I talked to Tracy, realized that you guys were connected. And then the world just seemed to get a little bit smaller. So it's
Yeah.
so great to have this entire connection and this new tribe. And I feel like you're a brother, and obviously I've been watching from afar, so it was such a treat to be able to connect with you, and now I know that we're going to be connected for a while. You've also got, I want to touch on this briefly because you are really diving into the artificial intelligence space for art right now
Yeah.
too.
Art
What do
and
you
any
think
multimedia. Yeah.
in any multimedia, what do you think, I want to kind of leave this as an open cliffhanger. What do you think is the power of, because I want to have another one of these conversations around this. What do you think is the power with AI in how to propel our visions forward faster and farther? Because I think I have my own theories, but what do you think is going to happen with us using this new technology to like purposely move us into the bigger vision, the evolved vision of ourselves?
Yeah.
How are you
So it's
visioning
kind
it?
of like the same experience I had when VR came out in 2016. I thought, well, this is it. Everyone's going to jump on board and get a headset on because this is the ultimate visualization tool. Are you freaking kidding me? You put this on and you're there. I mean, people who complain about, I can't visualize, I can't, okay, put this on. It's there, it's here, right? And they're still resisting it. Well, AI is another version of that where we have an immediacy to produce what we think of, right? And honestly, I'm pretty much in the simulation ilk. Like we've been through all this before, right? We're human beings. We just want to recreate ourselves. That's what we're doing. We're just trying to make the most realistic imitation of ourselves as possible. We're putting all of it into it. So of course we're going to do it. And of course the goal is to create, you know, entities that think they're real.
Right.
That's how real they're gonna. And so, to me, here we are. We're doing it, right? So it's just to me, it's just fascinating stuff. But so these tools for me are all about it's creativity. We're creative beings. This, like nothing else, is allowing me to express creativity in a way that I haven't been able to before in all my areas that I love. Right? I'm a voiceover artist, and there's voice cloning. Now, I'm not threatened by that. I think, are you kidding me? I can be 28,000 different voices and use my art. That's freaking great. Instead of like, oh, they're going to take over. Well, they still need actors. They still need human. It's
Right.
getting great. It's still getting great. But, if you're a creator, you need to embrace these freaking tools rather than be intimidated by them, because otherwise you're screwed. Because the people who learn how to work with them, will continue to advance, just like people learn to work with paintbrushes rather than horses' tails. And I don't know, the tools always evolve.
Yeah, the tools are always going to evolve. I think too. I think we're going to be able to cast a vision for ourselves that we may not have. Like if you look at the Lensa app, right? People are like, "Whoa, I didn't see myself in that light." And maybe you'll be able to transform your body because you saw yourself in a different way. You'll be able
That's a
to.
big yes. It's part of because of the AI photography. I mean, because you can obviously, I'm doing this. I mean, photo shoots that are virtual. So yes, absolutely, the greatest visualization tool. You want to see yourself looking fit and thin, and boom, boom. I'll get you 1,000 pictures of that. You don't have to cut out a picture from a photograph and stick it awkwardly on a thing. You can see yourself anywhere with anybody doing anything and really feel it. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
I did that same thing with my mustache. You know when they used to do that thing? And I was like, I didn't even know I could grow facial hair until I saw it on a little filter. Now I'm like, look at me.
Oh, that's
Got
funny.
it. I got it. It works.
I do the same thing with the shaved head because I figure one of these days, I'm just done with this. And so but the thing is, I look, the shaved head filters like Snapchat, you look good. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, I
Well, I
know.
look like a badass. But if I shave this off, I'd probably be all bumpy and cone head and like, oh, that was a mistake.
Whoopsie! I know
Yeah.
they give you like the
A false
Walter
sense of
White.
security.
Yeah, you look good.
Yeah,
That's so
I'm going to be
cool.
Walter White. That's what I'm thinking. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks they're going to shave their head and be Walter White. And instead, I don't know who.
Oh my god. Well, Bob, thank you so much. And then tell us one more time that the name, because it's kind of cut off on on your backdrop there, but the
Oh,
name of the event there again is
the event is the brain rewiring experience. Yeah, and Evolve Your Excellence is more my brand. That's what's on the sign. I know it's cut off,
isn't that crazy?
but
We're
yeah,
both in the
I
evolved
know Evolve.
space.
I know. I thought that was pretty weird too. But yeah, it's the brain rewiring experience. Do you want the URL? Or are you going to put it
Oh
somewhere?
yeah, we'll drop it in the link, guys. I already had a couple people that are like, "Hey, I want to know more about this." The rewiring experience is just something that I'm a nootropic fiend. I am a brain fiend. I just got diagnosed with a ton of toxic mold, so I was wondering like, what's
Wow.
happening with this? And honestly, it was really shocking at first, but then I know that I can rewire it. I know that I can get to a space or a place that makes me healthy. And in fact, this is like stuff that's coming up from the past. Like it was from an old place that I lived. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I already started. And like you were alluding to before, I was casting a bigger vision of what I had and pulled myself through it. And now that's what we're learning to do. And that's why the brain wiring, that, that event that you're doing is so influential and so powerful to have people do. So I'm just honored that we could share with my audience what you're doing. And then I know that Ray and I are planning on coming to one maybe in July. April's a little early for us, but we can't
Yeah,
wait
it's
to
quick.
join you and Tracy. Yeah, with that. Anything that folks would like to know, guys, we're going to put this URL below. You guys can follow Bob. I hope that we have another conversation around more of the AI stuff a little bit deeper on
Anytime I
that.
could go on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. I know we had a brief conversation about when we first talked, and I was like, we're going to talk about this more. So much more. But guys, there's some freebies from Bob that we're going to put in the link there as well. And, Bob, I wish we could talk all day, but I know you got stuff to do, and I got a three month old that is squawking behind me a little bit.
Your
But
stuff's
thank
way
you.
more important.
Oh man, thank you so much, Bob. It's so great to have you introduced to my audience, and it's so great to finally really get to dive in a little bit more with you. And I think this is just the start of some amazing collaborations. And
No
uh,
question.
yeah, so
We
fun.
know too many of the same people.
I know. I can't believe you get to hang out with Glenn and everybody out there. So I was like, dang, you're in the
Yep.
crew.
Yep.
Awesome. Anything you want to leave the audience with?
If you're a human and you have a brain, this works. The end.
The end. Thanks, Bob. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao.
All right.